being out in the world was suddenly very different. I mean, of course I was in my physical, I'm still being who I am and experiencing life in the way we all do, but yet things were also very different. Colors were so much more vibrant. When I would go for a walk, not every time, but often when I would walk my dog in the forest, in the park, whatever it might be, I would have this sense of, how could I describe this? Like, I am this park.
Okay.
I am these trees.
A sense of oneness.
Yes, and these trees are me. But I didn't know that word oneness. I was not on this kind of path. So I could only interpret the sentiments of that all without that vocabulary that we now have, oneness being the perfect word for that. Yeah, but it was like I was being shown this other understanding, which, for example, that tree has its own beingness.
Yeah.
I am the tree. It is me. And we are the same. I'm not superior to this tree. And that kind of sounds like a silly thing to say.
Not to me.
It was a visceral experience. Yeah. It was a visceral experience, very much. So sometimes things would even kind of look pixelated, like they were vibrating almost, but in a physical way, kind of.
Hey there, beautiful souls. It's your girl, Allie, and we are back at it again for another episode of Living Life Consciously. We have a very special guest lined up for you today, and I am stoked to get started. So without further ado, Justin, say what's up.
Hey, Cosmic Thrill Seekers, Justin here. Welcome to Living Life Consciously, where we explore the extraordinary, ride the waves of inspiration, and embark on an adventure of limitless curiosity together.
And I'm Leslie, your co-host, also known as Light Being Love, an eternal spiritual being having a temporary human experience. And we're very happy to have Amber Kasic here today with us. Amber, would you like to say hi?
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for just inviting me today and listening in. I am so happy to be here. I love the name of this podcast, Living Life Consciously.
Oh, I'm so glad you do, because so do I. It really embodies everything that we try to do with this show. I mean, it truly does. And I came up with this name way before I even had the concept of doing YouTube in my brain. So it was just meant to be.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you for that compliment. I appreciate it. All right. So for our audience, in this soul-stirring episode of Living Life Consciously, we explore the profound journey of Amber Kasic, a teacher, wife, mom, and evidential medium, as she shares the life-changing experience of her shared death experience with her father, who passed away in 2009 after a battle with cancer. I'm sorry for your loss. Just want to state that real quick. Amber's heart was forever opened by the passing of her father, leading her on a path of spiritual discovery that would forever alter her understanding of reality and life and death and the evidence, signs, and physical events that connected her and him and others in spirit, revealing the truth that love lives on and within us all. As Amber shares her journey from teacher to evidential medium, she invites us to reflect on the deeper truths of our existence. We are beings of spirit having a human experience, each of us equally worthy and deserving of love, guidance, and connection. I love everything about that, Amber. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Yes, thank you.
And I just feel the need to start off by prefacing to the audience that it is currently St. Patrick's Day, and I decided to wear green, not realizing that I was going to completely blend in with the green screen behind me. So have fun with this trippy little show going on right here.
Yeah, it looks funny.
It looks cool. I don't know. We're just going to rock with it.
Ghost Alley.
Well, like Amber said earlier before we started recording, I'm half in reality, half not. So it kind of fits.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Amber, thank you so much for being here today. Where would you like to start the conversation? Should we start with a question, or did you have a place in mind?
Oh, no, you go ahead and start with a question. That is all good.
Amber, your journey took a profound turn after your father's passing. Can you take us back to that moment when you first realized that your connection to him was continuing beyond just the physical world?
Sure. Well, the whole journey of connection with my dad, which was really a journey of growing in belief, probably was nearly a year. And it was a lot of back and forth. I believe, I don't believe, I believe, I don't believe. I was looking for every reason, logical based, of why somehow I could be inventing this or making it all up and so on and so forth. So I'd like to start with just that understanding that it really was a journey that took a very long time for me to fully grow in not just belief, but really embodying that I had this connection and accepting that.
Hmm.
But the connection began actually about 12 hours before he passed. I had a shared death experience with my father. I had not heard that term before at all. I actually didn't know that term until about a year after his passing.
Oh.
When I discovered that was a term that people are using to describe what I called at the time simply otherworldly explanations that are not logical, but you just know in the depth of you that it occurred. So about 12 hours before my dad passed, he had been very much unconscious by then. I'd already had my last words with him, all of that sort of thing. But I was laying alongside him in a recliner in the living room where we had his hospice bed set up. And I was holding his hand. And I was just having one of those moments where I was thinking about, I'm never going to hear his voice again. That has already ended. I'm thinking about all the things that are no longer. And it's such an interesting concept because the loved one is still here.
Right.
They're lying beside you. Their hand is warm. And it's sort of this weird physical place of being in when they are both here and absent at the same time. I was thinking about all the things that would never be, him seeing my son grow up, all that kind of stuff. And what I now know is I think almost in order to stop the pain of all those thoughts, I just stopped thinking.
Wow.
So many of us have an opportunity to consciously just stop thinking.
I was going to say that in and of itself is amazing. Like, can you teach me how to do that?
Well, and that's what I think in a way it just sort of happened because the pain was so great. And so I just stopped thinking all of the things. It wasn't even really a choice. And instead, I just was focusing on the love.
Oh, that's what did it.
My dad was still here. In this moment, he's my father. In this moment, I'm holding his hand. In this moment, I'm still his daughter. In this moment, he is alive. And in that state of full presence, and then what I would call unintentional surrender, I had this otherworldly experience. I suddenly just sort of, because I was laying there with my eyes closed, I just saw swirls of purple in my mind's vision, even though my eyes were closed. I didn't really think anything of that, but I did kind of just go, well, that's weird. It's not stuff that's kind of typical for me. And then I felt this warmth sort of slowly encompass me from head to toe. And I remember thinking, oh, that must be the sun coming in from the window and, just kind of playing tricks on me. But then with full clarity, I felt the words are hard to describe what this is because this isn't an experience that is typical or normal.
Sure.
But I felt an energy, is the best way I could describe it, enter my back. And it was like a wind, but not wind because it wasn't against my skin. It was like inside of my body, but it was like a whoosh. And the closest that we have in a physical experience to that is wind, but that's not really the right description. But I felt that whoosh and it came into my body and it sort of just was here at the center of my chest. This experience was so new. I could not judge it. Because I have nothing to judge it against.
You have nothing to compare it to, right?
Right. All
Yeah.
I could do was just be in the moment, and my brain was sort of observing and registering what was happening. And with that energy right here, it started doing slow circles around the center of my chest.
Okay.
Again, I mean, when have any of us felt some kind of energy going in slow circles? And it almost seemed intentional, as if this energy is trying to get my attention. Because even if it's something that's somehow physical, why is it just going in circles? But my brain,
Encircling your heart.
yes, which I didn't really think of at the time, right? That's our heart center. Those weren't words I used before.
Oh,
Like, no. But yes, now looking back, that's exactly what that was. And that energy moved then. It's like every time I became aware of it, it changed. And then it moved to my shoulder and it just paused. And then it slowly went down my arm, again, like on the inside of my body and into my hand. And then I just knew. I knew it, like knowing knowing the sky is blue.
Right.
That energy went into my dad too. I knew it.
okay.
And this complete sense of peace came over me, just profound love. And I knew, without having any reason to understand why, that we are eternally bonded. And it's like nothing mattered anymore. It didn't matter that he was going to die, is dying. And it didn't matter what that even meant. It didn't need to mean anything. I didn't even think about, well, what does that mean? I just knew it. Everything is fine. This is all fine. And we're bonded eternally. And I had such peace. I gave him a huge hug. I knew physically he couldn't hear me, or so they say. But I said to him, Dad, I don't know what that was, but I know you felt it too. And you take all that love and light with you in your core. I don't even know where that phrase came from. That wasn't a phrase that I used in my life. It's something we all have heard, but I was not like a love and light person.
Yeah.
But that's what I said. Take all that love and light in your core with you and leave the old news behind. And I think when I reflect back, what was really happening in that moment is it was like me saying, all the junk of you, we all have junk.
Sure.
Some more junky than others. But we all got junk. And I think what I was saying in that moment was, it's like all under the bridge. That's not the real you. Don't hold on to that. The you that I know, the you in your core, is beautiful and giving and generous and love. That's who you really are. And it was in part my acknowledgement of that, I think, because somehow I just felt this, and it was me passing that along to him. You take all that with you, leave the old news behind, because that stuff of us, that junk of us, doesn't really matter. And I just gave him a huge hug. And when I left, I had to go home. I had been there all week and I had to be with my family for a few hours, my husband and my son. I was driving home and I had my music blaring. I was singing. I was like, what's wrong with me? This is not normal. But I had a joy that is indescribable and just such a peace. Everything was fine. I actually didn't even want to go back to the house, even though I had plans to go back later that evening, because I sort of just wanted that to be my last moment with my dad, because it was, I didn't know what it was, but I just knew it was so beautiful. But I did go back later that evening, and he did technically pass 12 hours after that experience in the middle of the night, oddly during daylight savings time change, when we're out of time. We didn't know what time to write on the death certificate because he truly passed during that time of time change.
Oh, wow.
It was on November 1st, 111, during a hunter's full moon. My dad was an avid outdoorsman, fascinated with Native American culture. there's just looking back, I don't really think any of that was an accident.
No, certainly not.
Right.
But it didn't really stop there. I just knew I was okay. But that morning when I had finally gone back to the house and I was sitting and I had Hostess cupcakes. My dad, when I was a kid, he would leave them under the pillow for me, sometimes randomly, in random places. I loved Hostess cupcakes. So I bought a package on the way home, one for me and one for my son. And I wasn't ready to tell him his grandfather had died, but I just wanted to have my own kind of memorable way of honoring him in that morning, right, with my son in my lap. And my son got up, he was sitting in my lap. I took out the cupcake. I looked at it and I thought to myself, I have been eating so crappy all week. It's stressful.
Yeah.
Hospice and death and dying. I don't really need this. And I heard my dad's voice in my mind. I did not think it was my dad. I just assumed it was me. All it said was, go ahead and eat the cupcake, honey. Everything's all right.
Aww.
But it's like it didn't even register. That's just me.
Okay.
But I did. I ate the cupcake. I ate one. My son ate one.
Oh, you had that moment. That's cute.
Yeah. And a few hours later, I drove to a park. And it was the first time where I just really let some tears go. And more than grief, they were just tears of release, the emotional release. Anyone that has been with someone during a dying process knows what an emotional load that is. And so it was such a release. But my dad's voice returned. And that voice, clear as day, inside my head was, get out of the car, Amby. You've cried enough tears over me in your life. And I thought to myself, well, isn't that true? I have cried enough tears over my dad in my life. And then I kind of thought, well, where'd that voice come from? And I'm making that up, right? I have to be making that up. And I got out of the car, though, and I started walking. And I just said to myself, I was not like trying to talk to my dad, but I said to myself, Dad, I hope you're all right. Because in that moment, the truth is, I wasn't sure what I believed. A lot of us have different faith journeys. And I definitely believed in some kind of something that is bigger than us and bigger than me. But some of the traditional ways of thinking about those things had sort of fallen away through the years. But I wasn't saying no to that either. I was just sort of, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I believe in possibility. And I said that, gee, Dad, I hope you're all right. And without a second, I mean, instantaneously, I heard his voice in my mind. And he said, I'm just fine, Amby. I'm going to stick around here a while and help some people. And I'm happy about it.
Oh, wow.
And that moment, I stopped walking because I had a realization, with the cupcake in the car, I heard it, but it kind of, that's me. I'm inventing that voice. But in that moment, I had this realization. I, as Amber, would have never said that if I were making up my dad's voice.
Okay.
I would have said, if I were making that up, I would have said, oh, heaven's so beautiful. I'm with our dog Thunder again. I would have come up with something completely that was not, I'm going to stick around here a while.
And help some people.
Wow.
And my next thought right after that, I stopped and I just kind of had this thought that I just shared with you. And then I thought to myself, well, who would he be helping? Like, I didn't even have the thought that he might help me. I didn't even have that thought. Okay. And that kind of can tell you in some ways how sad that is. Like, why would I not think that I could use some help? And then, that started a year long of healing communication from him because we did have a lot of really tough stuff in our life. It started a year-long journey of understanding that we are a part of such a greater reality than what we see with our eyes. It started a year-long journey of getting to know myself as a soul and not just the story of who I am as teacher with this name, with this demographic who believes things, right?
Right.
Yeah, he absolutely helped me. He completely transformed my life in such beautiful ways. He helped me feel a different kind of love that I've never felt before, helped me heal from, I think, some not so nice beliefs about myself, maybe from some of my life experiences. And now, I'm able to help others with evidential mediumship because a part of that journey was not only growing in communication with him, but growing eventually. It began to be spontaneous communication with others as well.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
That's such a profound experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
It really was. And it's not even that it was just the moment. I mean, it truly, for a while, I would say probably a good 2 months, I sort of felt like I was walking around in a near-death experience on a daily basis.
Wow.
In what way?
Every way. Just being out in the world was suddenly very different. I mean, of course, I was in my physical, I'm still being who I am and experiencing life in the way we all do, but yet things were also very different. Colors were so much more vibrant. When I would go for a walk, not every time, but often when I would walk my dog in the forest, in the park, whatever it might be, I would have this sense of, how could I describe this? Like, I am this park.
Okay.
I am these trees.
A sense of oneness.
Yes, and these trees are me. But I didn't know that word oneness. I was like, I was not on this kind of path. So I could only interpret the sentiments of that all without that vocabulary that we now have, oneness being the perfect word for that. Yeah, but it was like I was being shown this other understanding, which, for example, that tree has its own beingness.
Yeah.
I am the tree. It is me, and we are the same. I'm not superior to this tree. And that kind of sounds like a silly thing to say,
Not to me.
It was a visceral experience.
Yeah.
It was a visceral experience, very much so. Sometimes things would even kind of look pixelated, like they were vibrating almost, but in a physical way, kind of.
Wow.
Little bit ineffable.
It sounds like you were like some sort of calibration for what you were going to be doing with your life from there on. And, even the moment with your dad and the energy and all of that, it was almost like a catalyst or some sort of like thing turned on, that was the moment.
100%. Because whatever that other energy was, now I had the experience in my body of that energy. And so therefore, I think in part, yes, I was being exposed to another part of our world that is beyond just our typical 5 senses. I actually had a moment, this is a few months after this initial stuff, once I finally believed this was really a thing, to your point, in which I was sort of just grounding myself in a bath. Because, this was like a real spiritual awakening, and that has an effect on your body. I was nauseous often. I would have headaches.
Did you feel dizzy?
Yes, my skin broke out terribly. And I grounded myself in a bath, and I just sort of kind of said, what is going on? And I heard in this airy female voice, you are changing at the cellular level.
Wow. I just got full body chills. And also, while you were telling your story with your dad, I was just constantly having spiritual chills.
And for someone that might be listening that could possibly be going through a type of spiritual awakening, one clue that you're not making it up, because there were many days where I sat down and just thought, I am going crazy. What is wrong with me? But that phrase, you are changing at a cellular level. I had never heard something like that before. I didn't read spiritual books. I wasn't reading Joe Dispenza at the time. I wasn't reading, all these interesting ideas. it was out of nowhere. That's out of my realm of vocabulary at the time, out of my realm of experience. So that's a way that higher energy is getting through to you, letting you know this is not coming from you.
Right. That's very similar to Peter Maxwell Slattery. We just had a conversation with him a few days ago, and he said he has 23 different DNA modifications.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah. So yeah, that makes sense. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I still don't fully know exactly what that means, but somehow I know it to be true. And it might be in part a conscious realization of how integrated we are. That's not even the right word. That we are an aspect of creation.
Yeah.
We are creation itself. We are nature itself. We are nature. Nature's not something we observe or sit in. Or, we are that same essence of creation that created everything we see.
Yeah. I had a similar experience last year when my father passed away. Not a shared death experience, but similar to you in the fact that I was sitting on the couch and I just learned that he had passed away a few hours before. And I remember hearing him in my mind. He was, it was his voice and the way he speaks and everything. And he said, "I'm okay, babe. I'm okay." And he just kept saying that a couple times over and over again. But yeah, so it was pretty amazing.
Yeah, absolutely love that.
Mm-hmm.
Chills. I got chills. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I firmly believe that our loved ones do communicate with us, shortly after they pass. And, not just shortly, but continuing on.
Well, I'll just say en route, I had drove to a location to do this interview. And I was slowly going through town and I see something out the corner of my eye, so I look and right next to my driver window is a butterfly flying, literally right next to the car.
Oh, wow.
And so of course I'm slowing down, checking out the butterfly and thinking I'm going to this interview and that's so spiritual. And I wonder if that's Amber's dad or, I don't know, I had all these flood of thoughts and I just let it go across in the front of my car and I, went on, but I thought it was really neat. I just want to say that.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Amber, I just want to thank you for sharing your story because we've never spoken to somebody that's had a shared death experience before. We've spoken to many, 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 many people that have had near-death experiences and who research near-death experiences, but never anybody that's had a shared death experience. So thank you so much, first and foremost. And shout out to your dad because he sounds like an amazing guy. And my dad's name is Frank too. So that's a whole nother thing. That's a whole, and so is my brother.
Teacher, y'all have that in common too.
Yeah,
you were a teacher.
Right. I'm a teacher as well. But I just think that okay, so I have so many thoughts going through my head. Forgive me for stuttering. Okay, so I want to ask you, who do you contribute that energy to that came in through your back and was circling your heart and that you and your dad experienced? Was that an angelic presence? Was that who do you attribute that to?
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. But what I will say is that many, probably a year after that, I sat in meditation once and I brought my memory back to that moment and I asked my dad, who greeted you when you passed?
Okay.
And he said, you did. And once again, that makes no sense. What do you mean I did? I wouldn't come up with that because I'm here. I was expecting my mom, my dad, my granddad,
right?
Something like that. But he said, you did.
That's beautiful. It happened then. I feel like he left his body at that point. Yeah. His body was just still doing the thing.
Exactly. And the next thing that I felt, because I asked, can you help me feel that experience from your perspective? Because in mediumship, one of my strengths as a medium, many mediums have different strengths. I'm not the best at names. I'll get them sometimes, but it's not my thing. Other mediums are like amazing with dates and random number things. Not my thing. I am amazing at perceiving people's emotions, their complex personalities, because I feel like them. They're able to pass that to me, give me their emotions. Same with animals. So I asked him, can you help me feel that? Because I know that that's a strength that I have in communicating with another realm. I'm able to feel those emotions. And what he did was he gave me the feeling of himself. I felt all the heaviness. I felt the masculinity. I felt like kind of what was going on with him was that there was this like sort of awareness, but not. I could feel the disorientation in my own brain. And then I felt all this rising, and I just felt as it's like, as some part of me was rising that I couldn't really describe, the lighter and lighter I got. And then all of a sudden there was just all this expansiveness. And then him greeting me as soul. So not in physical form, but as soul. Wow. You know, and as a medium, I know that, how can I best express this? Our human self of who we are, it's not like we're here and then we die and we're soul. We're both at the same time, always.
Right. Like we're here, but we're also there.
Yeah.
And primarily we're there.
Yes. And a part of that reason is because, yes. And a part of that reasoning is because it's not that there's here and there. That's not even the right way to describe it. Everything is here. It's just layers of density and layers of awareness. In this human body, none of us, I don't think, will ever be able to have the full experience of the awareness of soul. But we can teach ourselves to have increasing levels of awareness of soul and to have our humanness fall away. That's what spiritually transformative experiences are. You don't have to die to have one. I'm in the testament to that. You don't have to die to have one. And so I think as my dad was sharing that with me, and then him saying to me, you as soul greeted me. That was also him helping to give me this understanding of what that feels like. So to answer your question, while I don't know exactly what that energy was, because that wasn't a part of that experience that I asked him of, what I think is that his soul passed in that moment. I know that as a medium, we are not just gone when we stop breathing at all. I could tell you stories upon stories of that one. But in that moment, his soul passed away. I think he was touching me.
Okay.
Energetically, that was my soul greeting him. What you could call what you want.
Like a hug. Because the circling the heart made me feel like a hug, like a spiritual hug.
Yes, like a soul hug.
And then also now I'm thinking like even like intertwining there for this purpose that you're like living now, and like what he's doing there with, I don't know, there's some sort of like.
No, absolutely. In another moment, he had said to me, I can't believe I get the opportunity to do this.
Wow.
Because it's not our loved ones are all around us, all of us. But to have a level of connection like this, where for a year, it was like daily, just about daily. That I get that's something extra, is not super typical. And he said that to me one day. I can't believe I get to do this. And it came with this sense of I'm being allowed to.
I was going to say, it sounds like a privilege that not everybody gets, maybe, I don't even know if that's the right way to describe it, but it sounds like he got some kind of cool spiritual past to hang around and like guide you along this new evolution of who you were meant to be so that you could do the work you're doing now. Like, whoa.
Yes, that's exactly what
100%.
I
even had the thought of like a graduation. Like to an angel, you know what I mean? Or something like some
Oh.
sort of like new position in
Yeah.
spirit, you know, that and then he's doing that with you or something. I don't know. But I had that because the 111, you know, it's angel number.
I can say that. I
Yeah, like
feel
he's doing
him.
something.
This doesn't happen too often on a podcast, but I feel him right now. He's laughing. He appreciates what you just shared, but he's shaking his head. He's like, I am not an angel. He wasn't an angel in life, and he's not an angel.
All right.
He has
Spirit
a police
guide?
uniform on. He has a police uniform on. I can see it, and he's got his
Oh.
badge. And I will tell you that there are times in mediumship where he shows up once in a while. And he, you know, my dad was a police officer in life for a long time.
Okay.
And he'll be directing traffic. As in, like, hey, you come on here now. You hold over here. That's got to wait a little bit. And I do think that there's a role he plays in my mediumship. Absolutely.
Neat.
And I'll give you an example of that I think is really profound and might have its own lesson. In a mediumship reading one time, as I began with my client, who was a woman who was in my session, all of a sudden, just as we were getting started, I felt my dad's presence. And I know what that presence is. And it doesn't happen real often in mediumship. Sometimes I'll get little glimpses of things or he'll be there. But this was like he was stepping into this connection right in front of me. I saw a police shirt on. And then in my mind, he grabbed a man in spirit kind of by his shirt or shoulder. And I'm going to explain why. Like, what does that even mean? People in spirit aren't wearing shirts. So I'll have to explain to you what I mean in a minute. Like, why would that be a thing? But he grabbed that man by the shirt and shoulder. And with a real stern voice, he said, "You come here."
Ooh.
Wow.
And he pulled the gentleman into the connection. And then I felt this gentleman in spirit. He was afraid to be in this connection. This does not happen often. By and large, everyone that I have come across in a mediumship session is light in spirit. They're full of love. They may have apologies and want to relay their complexities in life, but by and large, they show up with learning and joy and so on and so forth. This man showed up afraid, and I immediately felt everything about him. I knew that he had some addictions in life. For the sake of anonymity, because I didn't ask the person in advance of this, if I could share this, I don't want to give away too much, just out of respect.
Mm-hmm.
But he had addictions in life. There was some abuse. I was vomiting all this, and this is your dad. And I know that he had these difficult behaviors, and the way that he interacted with you was really, really difficult. He smoked, he did this, this was his profession. And she said, yes, all that is true. And immediately the man, he didn't apologize, but I felt his release in saying what he had done to his daughter in life.
Mm.
And with that release, it was almost like he needed to say it all and just get it all out there on the table. And then my dad released him. I could see it in my mind, and he moved on. And then we had a beautiful connection with her mother and so on and so forth.
Oh, wow.
But my dad was pulling him in because he is here at times to support in the background of what's going on in mediumship. And what I believe about that experience was that man needed to be pushed, encouraged, even pulled in, so that he could validate to his daughter what his life experience was, because that aided him in his soul growth. He couldn't in that moment say, I'm sorry. He didn't have all those emotions, and that rarely happens. But I think that might have been 2 out of hundreds of sessions where the person I didn't feel their deep apology, their deep regret. But I think that was his learning moment. And I can't know, none of us can, but he may have been in a place where kind of he was in his own little, I don't know, created hell, because he's not moving forward in his light and in his love. A part of that is acknowledging the junk life. A part of that is making apologies. A part of that is, repenting for kind of difficult stuff. And that's my thought about what that happened. But my dad absolutely pulled him into that connection. And in a way, that's helping him across on the other side as well.
Have you seen that movie Soul, the Disney movie Soul? Is that what it's called? Soul, like Soul, where it's like it's about all these little souls hanging out before they incarnated. So I'm picturing your dad as like the guy hanging out in that soul area where they're all trying to figure out where they're going to go, and he's like directing traffic, telling everybody where they're supposed to be. And if he sees somebody that's bogged down and heavy and dark and dragging, he'll bring them to you so that you can let them transmute that and release that so that they can then move on in their journey. So like you guys are literal like a team, like a mediumship team. Wow, you are doing such profound work. Shout out to you and shout out to your dad, Frank. Seriously.
Yeah.
It definitely is a little bit of a team partnership here for sure.
Yeah.
I've never heard that either. This is such an amazing conversation. I'm like
this is
getting
so cool.
blown away by this.
Sure.
I wonder how many people that have shared death experiences go through similar things that Amber goes through, but they maybe just don't, take it that way. Or is this it? Maybe it's something, like some sort of soul contract, which everybody's not going to have the same contract to do, exactly what you guys are doing. But I guess where I was going with that is, my thoughts earlier prior, but then I had the thought, but then there's the whole mediumship that followed, but is for people to be open, because I have a feeling many people experience shared death experiences of some kind, but they just write it off or deny, it's like you probably initially thought, but you stuck with it or whatever, but, or more things happen, I guess, for you. But I just want people to just realize that is what they're experiencing when their loved ones are passing. Like there is a thing, it's happening, and you got to experience that, and it's beautiful.
Absolutely. I am actually a volunteer researcher for the Shared Crossing Project now. I just started doing that a handful of months ago. So I would recommend it if people are just interested in end-of-life phenomena for people that are still living. You can check out sharedcrossingproject.com. They have a really great description of shared death experiences. You can read stories. Yes, I had never even heard that term until a year after my experience. And there are many people that are having experiences like this of varying degrees, but they are absolutely shared death experiences.
Thank you for sharing.
So we are kind of trying to figure out y'all's roles and everything and like what it all is. I mean, have you ever outright asked your dad or tried to get that information, or is it just kind of what you gathered and you're just going with the flow of it?
About his specific role?
Like and yours, to pursue mediumship and all that. I mean, like, how did it just all kind of naturally unfold, or did you inquire once you realized you were talking to your dad?
Sure.
You can answer it.
I want to piggyback on your question, Leslie, because I'm sitting here wondering, were you a medium before your shared death experience with your dad, or did all this occur like at that moment and since?
Yeah, no, so I can answer both your questions.
Okay, thank you.
Not a medium at all before these experiences. I would say that I always considered myself a very intuitive person. And then when I had my son in 2016, wow, did it grow even way stronger. I don't know what that's about. Some type of, mother life force connection to everything, but it really increased at that point. But no, I was not a medium before.
Very interesting.
And it was really only about, I would say, 3 to 4 months after these communication experiences with my dad that all of a sudden now it was happening with others as well. So for example, I would be in the grocery store and I'd be just checking out and there'd be like someone behind me. And not that this was happening every day, but it happened. And all of a sudden I just felt there's a woman and she passed in her early 50s and I could feel it in my chest. She died of emphysema.
Oh,
I can feel it in my own body. She died of emphysema. And I would get up. It took me a couple of times of this happening, but eventually I'd get up the courage and I would just turn to the person behind me and say, I'm so sorry if this is too much. Can I ask you Is it okay if I ask you, do you have a mother who passed of emphysema in her early 50s? It took me so much courage to get up and ask
sure.
that. And
That's awesome that you did, though.
Yes.
They would be taken aback, and she would say, do you know my mom?
You'd be like, well, kind of.
And I would kind of just have to be honest in that moment. And I would say, I've been having these very odd experiences ever since my dad died. And I'm feeling things about people, because that was the truth. I didn't label myself a medium. I was afraid. I didn't want to be a medium. What?
That's too weird, right?
Terrible word. That makes me weird. Although I was probably already weird in a lot of other ways. But anyway.
We like weird around here.
It sort of started happening that way. And then there was a day when, by now I'm like really exploring all of this stuff. Like I would ask myself every day, what is the science that is fostering this? Because I believe in science. And I don't think that there's a man in the sky with a beard who's going, Amber, you deserve to be zapped with beautiful stuff. I don't have that sense of we're all worthy. We're like, why is this happening to me? There must be science somehow that is helping me perceive this.
Okay.
So I was on this whole exploration journey. Because of that, I started meditating and all these things I was not doing before, right?
Yeah.
And someone had shared with me that a great practice is to do a compassion meditation, where you simply meditate, and maybe you are, after you have a great sense of peace, you just start wishing people well. A lot like prayer, right? I pray for so-and-so, I pray for so-and-so.
Exactly.
But like you're stating their name, and with your heart and your feelings and your energy, you're just sending them well wishes. So I was doing this. And when I got to a man's name, who was an old boss of mine from like decades ago, and I had just heard he passed of cancer like a couple weeks before this meditation. And I just said his name, wish you well. And instantly I heard his voice in my mind, and he said, and don't forget my wife. And then he said her name.
Wow.
And I went, I don't know his wife's name. I kind of said that to myself. And then he gave me an intimate detail about them, something very intimate. I don't want to say it on the podcast. That wouldn't be very nice. But it was like a detail about their intimate life.
Sure.
And then he said, tell her it's so beautiful here. And so I asked him, if this is really you, give me a funny detail about yourself. And he showed me tortilla chips and a can of baked beans.
Okay.
My human mind, I thought, well, he likes nachos. Like, everybody likes nachos. That's not an odd detail, right? But I gathered up all the courage I had, and I reached out to his wife. I looked her up on Facebook. Okay, this was her name. I didn't know his wife. I don't know anything about him personally. I gave her this. I kind of told. Do you know what kind of courage it takes?
I was just gonna say, you really found her on Facebook and messaged her.
There's this intimate detail. Share about you and your husband and your intimate life. But
so how'd she react?
This is the creativity of spirit.
Yeah.
I would never do that. I would never do that. And I know I wouldn't make that up. If my brain was going to make up a detail, it wouldn't be a detail about their intimacy.
Okay.
But
intimate details and beans. What a cool combo.
But I reached out to her and I just said, this is what's happened to me since my dad died. These are the experiences I'm having. I feel like I had this connection with your husband. This is what he shared. And she replied back. She was bawling, so thankful that I reached out to her. This intimate detail was something he would tell her all of the time. So it was very relevant.
Wow.
And yes, his favorite snack in the world was not nachos, literally a can of baked beans with tortilla chips. Who eats baked beans and tortilla chips?
I've never heard that.
But that's like his favorite, snack. And in that moment, I kind of knew this isn't just my dad.
Yeah.
Like, yes, this is now communication with others, but I didn't seek that out. It just happened. But this entire year-long journey was like my dad in spirit, dangling little carrots in front of me. They know I'm curious. they know I find life interesting. They know I'm a learner. They know my nature is to kind of be an explorer. And so they were just dangling carrots as we keep going along. Because now once we do this, Amber's going to be like, well, what the heck is that all about? Why am I getting communication with these other people? And that set me on a mediumship.
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe he was directing those traffic to you even at the very beginning, like, here you go. You can do.
Right? Yeah. So you said that it was happening for a year. So like, did it end after a year? Like, did you have what do you mean by that?
Yeah. Well, yeah. No, it didn't end, but it's like, how could I describe? I think
It evolved.
Yes, it was evolved, and then it was
into like an
about a year.
acceptance.
Yes, where I finally really, I no longer feared that this was going to maybe go away. I didn't wonder if it was going to go away. I was sort of now integrated with this understanding and belief. And I had this moment, we were on a family vacation, and I just said to myself, I was driving, it was late at night, and I was like, he really is here. He really is never going to go away. And in that moment, I felt and for 2 weeks, I didn't hear from my dad at all.
Oh, really?
And I laughed because it didn't
like you
matter.
felt him go for a minute. You're saying you felt his.
Whether it was his going or just an acknowledgement of what I was saying, I don't know.
He was probably like, yay, she finally figured it out. She finally accepted it or got it.
Well, like a release.
Yeah.
But I don't think the right word is he was here and then he left, because those are very parts. It's more like he was concentrating his energy more densely to be so close to me so that I could feel it. And now I don't need that. I don't need to feel that strong presence every day. He was putting songs in my head. Every morning I'd wake up, I'd have like 1970 song lyrics in my head. I love that. I kind of miss it, but I don't need that anymore.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I know we are eternally bonded. I don't question it.
Yeah.
I don't question it when I'm having a hard time and I don't hear from him,
Yeah.
So you had a shared death sorry, Leslie, I just feel like I need to summarize this for my brain. You had the shared death experience. Then you had a year's worth of forgive me if this sounds incorrect, but I'm describing it as like spiritual training wheels, where your dad was concentrating his energy very, very deeply on you. Then you had that realization moment where you finally wholeheartedly accepted that he's never going away because he's always going to be here. And then you said he left for 2 weeks. So now he kind of comes and goes. Yeah. Not comes and goes, but works with you more closely, but also gives you space versus the year of spiritual training wheels that was really intense.
I would say that. Yeah. It's more like, and I love that you say training wheels. It kind of makes me laugh because.
Oh, good. I was hoping it wasn't going to be insulting. I didn't mean it to be that way. Okay.
Because my dad taught me how to ride a bike.
Mine did too.
Right. It was this whole very stubborn experience. It was actually kind of awful. So it makes me laugh because, yes, I think he absolutely was teaching me spiritual training wheels.
Okay, good.
That's a good analogy, just like riding a bike, but navigating. How do we navigate this new understanding? How do I navigate this world of energy that I'm now feeling?
Sure.
But also, this is why it's so fascinating to me, because I do think there is science that is fostering this, but it's also not just science. I was being guided. There were things that were happening that were, what's the word I'm looking for? Construed by spirit on purpose to make me take a next step or make a path or whatever. There was sometimes intervention on a physical level that is mind-blowing and doesn't make any sense. For example, a very short one. We brought a new bed into the house, a new bed frame, all the things, and it put a crack in our kitchen floor. I don't think I've ever told this story before outside my house. So.
Okay.
Exclusive.
Well, it sounds crazy. That crack was, I was so mad about it. We've got this whole crack on this tile on the floor, right? My husband saw it. We both saw it. One day I woke up. That crack is gone. It's gone. There's no crack in the floor anymore.
Wow.
Crack in the floor. I could
I just
drink
got chills on that too.
He can corroborate my story, and he was like, my husband was atheist before all this. He's like, none of this is real.
That changed him?
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
Those types of things happened on purpose.
Yeah.
They had to.
Sure.
In order for me to believe.
It's a glitch in the matrix. I mean,
in order for me to believe the extensiveness of what is possible. It's not my feeling that those in spirit will influence life often in that way. But when it's really important because of someone's path or whatever it might be, it can be done. And
wow.
That was absolutely influenced because that crack in the tile is gone.
That's amazing.
I'm flabbergasted.
I mean, and you know what? I think, to hear that, even with how open my mind is, or all of us, that's something new, but I believe it. You know what I mean? Like, that happened, and anything is possible. It's a freaking miracle, okay?
The point was the wonder.
Yeah.
The point was, Amber, anything is possible.
Right.
Come on this next step of belief. Come on this next step of wonder.
Yeah.
Because to be immersed in that all the time, it made me go, gee, I don't know. Am I a medium? Like, anything is possible.
I'm curious. That is amazing. I'm curious about your husband and, family, and with this transition and everything you went through, I'm sure you're not the same person that you were before. And so, how did that play out?
Good question.
Yeah, it's a good question. My husband, I'm so thankful. He really came on this journey of belief with me. Absolutely. He grew in belief alongside me, maybe a little bit lagging behind, but always from the beginning supported me. Never made me feel crazy ever.
I love that for you.
That is amazing. Yes.
I'm so thankful for that. And, now he's like, how do I get to be a witch? I don't use that name for myself, but it's kind of like funny haha in our house,
She does it too.
He's right along here with me. And there were a few experiences like the tile, I think on purpose involved him because he had to be given hit the rock on the head.
Sometimes you need that spiritual 2x4 to the dome to get it, right?
Yeah. So there were a couple of experiences that he was really directly involved in that I think really solidified things for him. So it's been beautiful. And another piece of this is the relationship with my mom. How can I describe it? It's not that we didn't have a good relationship before, but we fight a lot less. It's been a lot better. It's been, I think, very healing for us, this communication with him. I feel very validated by her. She didn't believe in mediums.
I was going to say, is she open to it also?
She is now.
Okay, but wasn't before.
No. Well, no, it's not that she was, just anti what I was saying necessarily, but before all this would have happened, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we had a moment where I was actually in the middle of work, and all of a sudden I felt my dad's presence, and his voice said, "Call your mom. She's sad and eating pudding."
Oh. And
I was so afraid to call my mom because what if she's not eating pudding?
Right.
I'm thinking this all up. Oh no, this is all over, and then she's not going to believe me and all these things that have happened. So I didn't call her.
Ooh.
And then I felt my dad's disappointment. Not judgment, but disappointment. I felt it. I felt the emotion. And it made me go, okay, I'll call her. Well, I called. It was probably 15 minutes after I really felt the call her and she's eating pudding. I did. I called her 15 minutes later and I said, "Mom, what are you doing right now?" And she's crying. "The cable people are here and nothing is going right and they can't fix anything. And I just miss your dad because he would take care of this."
Aww.
And then I said, "Were you just eating pudding?" And she's like, "Yes, I was just eating pudding. Why are you asking me that?" And then, "Why did you know that I was eating pudding?" I haven't seen my mom eat pudding since I was a kid.
Wow.
It's not like she eats pudding regularly.
Okay, that's not a normal thing. All right.
It was like the perfect moment.
Yeah, it's like she had some in the back of the cupboard, you know, sometimes I have a son, so once in a while, but I literally have not seen her eat pudding. It's not something she eats. And that solidified it for her.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because
your whole family is on this spiritual journey.
She was crying and she was having, you know, a real tough moment of grief. So it's sort of like my dad has helped me. He's helped her. He's helped us.
Yeah.
Your husband.
It's like a huge ripple effect.
And what did he say on day one? I'm going to stick around here a while and help
some people. Oh, so
wow.
So there's that personal piece, right? But then also in the mediumship, I don't feel him every time I do mediumship, but I know he's here. He's teaching me how to ride the bike.
I mean, it's like he's like a guide, a spirit guide.
Absolutely.
Is he laughing at that?
Just like that you called him an angel and then he thought that was funny.
Yeah.
I just feel that way. But okay, so you have mentioned you believe we are beings of spirit having a human experience. How has this belief shaped the way you live your everyday life?
Oh, that's such a great question, Leslie. Well, in general, I definitely see the world much more through the eyes of wonder, through the eyes of joy. You know, it can be much easier to find beauty in the everyday stuff, whether, you know, I used to complain about winter all the time. This is such a good, I hated winter. I hate being freezing. I kind of liked the snow, but it was only pretty for a week and then I'm ready for spring again, right?
Yeah.
But like now, it's like, it's not just, I don't just tolerate winter. I find the beauty of the wind. I find the beauty of it. And it doesn't matter that it's cold. And I can look at the way the tree looks with the snow in January, in November, in March, and I appreciate it with the same amount of beauty. We've had 60-degree days here in Michigan for the last week or so. And yesterday it was 35 and snowed a whole bunch. And I went for a walk this morning. 5 years ago, I would have been pissed. And today I was like, oh, it looks like, you know, early December when it just starts snowing and look how pretty it is. And with the sun coming in on the tree. So it sounds like a silly thing, but being able to find beauty in life like that on a daily basis. And listen, I'll say most frequent basis. I'm still very human and I have days where I'm just pissy.
Right.
But being able to generally see a lot more beauty in life like that really brings a new level of contentment to one's life. Contentment is the right word. I don't think the goal of life is happy. The goal of life is contentment, being within yourself and with your world, even when things are hard, you know?
Yes.
So there's this wonder and curiosity. And I think another big way that has left a lasting impact on me truly, I see others with a lot more grace. Not that I didn't before, but I'll argue less. I get in less political arguments. I'm not trying to change people. I'm just, it's not that I don't want to advocate for what I feel is just or right or lovely or whatever, but I'm able to do it with much more grace and love. And I think coming from a higher place rather than this place of, to be honest with you, probably hurt before. Or it was like I was coming from hurt. I was just mad. Why can't we not see this?
Yeah.
You know? And now it's like we're all on our own journey.
I can relate to that a lot. It's just a matter of like seeing other people as like literally just another aspect of you on their own journey, who came incarnated on Earth to learn to have some experiences and to learn some stuff and to check some boxes off your, you know, spiritual contract, the things you wanted to do when you were here. So when you, I agree, because when I went down my spiritual journey, I did the same thing. It was, I don't want to say, I'll just say it as flat out as I'm thinking it. It was a lot less judgment and a lot more acceptance. It was a lot more like trying to get people to believe or behave in a certain way and just accepting that that's what they need on their journey. And it doesn't affect me and mine. So like, just let it be. Just, you know, just a lot more acceptance and understanding that like everybody else is just another aspect of you.
Yeah, it's all about perspective. Your perspective widens, or you know, is higher, and there's more of an understanding of everybody and what everybody goes through, and even yourself. It's just more of a deeper understanding of our true nature. And I just hope that for everyone, because your perspective really does change, and you're able to think completely new and more positive for everything.
Yes, Leslie, you did this with your hand, and I love that, because that is what I feel. It's like sometimes I describe it as being put on the mountaintop perspective. All of us generally in our day-to-day, we're in the valley, we're in the muck, right? It's crowded, we're brushing up against the friction. But when you take that mountaintop perspective, it not only is it better for all of society, but also internally, it's just so much more expansive. It feels better on the inside than being stuck down in the valley in the muck, you know?
Yeah, I use that perspective or that analogy also. It's kind of like zooming out, like you're zooming out of the physical 3D and you're zooming out to like a cosmic conscious awareness, to where it's like more like big picture scenario versus like, this is me in this physical body and these are my thoughts and my problems. It's like a zooming out. So I love that analogy.
And it really helps you to navigate life much easier.
Absolutely.
Correct.
Right.
Amber, can you please do our audience a favor and drop your links, tell them your websites, where they can find you online, things you have going on, things you maybe have coming up, spill the tea on all the cool stuff you're doing and where we can find you.
Sure. Well, you can find me at www.natureswayopen.com. That is my website where I offer evidential mediumship. Also soon, end-of-life coaching. I recently finished a program for an end-of-life conscious dying coaching program. So I really look forward to helping people through just holistic wellness as they approach the end of life. But actually, it's really good for people not even at the end of life. It helps solidify and affirm your life path. So you'll find more info about that soon on my website. And also upcoming, I am currently teaching a course just with a group of about 10 people called Discover Your Divine Soul Self. And it's very much about how to take this mountaintop perspective. How do we feel ourselves on top of the mountain? What does that feel like? Not really about spirit communication, but that's important because you have to first feel yourself as a soul. For most of us, we have to get that soul perspective in order to open up those higher things. So I'll be doing that again in the upcoming months. And you can find me on social media at Nature's Way Open. I'm most active on Facebook. I'm not the best at social media. Trying to get better. But
it's a lot of things to keep up with. So I have your website, natureswayopen.com. I have your Instagram handle, your Facebook handle, and you're on YouTube.
Yes, at Nature's Way Open.
Amazing. I'll have those links on the screen and in the video description box below. So if you feel called to check out what Amber's got going on and the amazing work that she's doing, that'll definitely be available for you. So Justin, do us all a favor and ask her your famous question.
Okay. Before I ask you the question, you said a couple things during the podcast that reminded me of this book that I want to share. And some of those things that you said earlier were that we are all in this experience. It's not like there's a here and a there, that it's different densities. And so I thought about this book here called The Infinite Pool of Experience and Awareness by Alexei Novitsky, who's a friend of ours.
Shout out, Alexei.
Right. And we've had him on the show a couple times. But in this book, he specifically talks about the science behind this conscious phenomena and how there's different densities of experience. So anyway, I implore anybody to go check this out. And So anyway,
we should get him on the show too.
Yeah, we'll have him back. All right. Okay, so with that being said, what is your greatest hope for the future of humanity? That's a big one.
Yeah, you can take a minute. A lot of people need a moment. It's a very zoomed out question.
My biggest hope is for every individual to come to understand through felt experience, not just in the mind telling ourselves, through an embodied felt experience in whatever way that works for them, to come to know that they are already divine, already whole, and already worthy. Because if we know those three things, it changes everything. It doesn't make us all the same. We're not supposed to all be the same, but it will heal a whole lot of hurt and a whole lot of stuff. If we know our divinity, feel our worth, and feel how loved and whole we already are. We don't have to compare ourselves to anyone.
I freaking love that. I love that because I feel like, hurt people, and there's a lot of people walking around judging themselves and just not showing self-love and not really realizing how everything is interconnected. So I really feel like your greatest hope for the future of humanity is like literally what everybody needs right now. And if that were to take place, like let's just imagine the world where that is happening, like it would be a completely different experience. Like if everybody understood that they were worthy and loved and made of love and came from source and that we're all connected, the world would be operating on such a totally different frequency. It would be amazing. Yes. Beautiful. Thank you so much. And for our audience that's sticking around, thank you guys so much. I hope you received that message with an open and full heart. Please do us a favor and smash that like button, click subscribe, ring our little notification bell, drop a lovely comment down below, and share this video with your family and friends to help us spread the good word. All right, Amber, help join us in this last part. We do much love, peace, and namaste. Okay, you ready? All right, here we go.
Right. Much love, peace,
and namaste.